If you keep reaching for your phone even when something important waits in front of you, that isn't a lack of discipline, it's how dopamine quietly pulls your attention toward what feels easiest. And once you understand that, effort can start to feel natural again. You sit down to study, the book already open in front of you, your laptop ready, everything technically prepared to begin, and your phone lies right next to you, not because you need it, but simply because it's there. You tell yourself you'll start in a second, that one quick scroll won't matter, that you just want to clear your head before you focus. 10 minutes later, nothing has really happened. The book is still open, you haven't learned anything, and somehow, starting now feels heavier than it did before you touched the phone. Most people think moments like this say something about them, that they're lazy, undisciplined, or simply don't want it badly enough. But here's the uncomfortable truth. In that moment, your brain didn't fail you. It trained itself. Each time you choose comfort over effort, your brain quietly learns a rule, that what feels easy should come first. And once that rule is learned, it doesn't stay in that moment. It begins applying itself automatically at your desk, in the evening, on weekends, whenever something important asks for effort. This is why motivation disappears so quickly, not because you don't care, but because your brain has already decided the price of effort is too high. What's happening isn't dramatic or loud, it's quiet, automatic, and mostly invisible. At the center of it is dopamine, not the chemical of pleasure, but the chemical of anticipation. Every scroll carries the promise that something better might be next, and your brain responds to that promise long before it knows whether it's true. Inside your head, a silent auction is running. On one side is effort, focus, resistance, delayed reward. On the other side is distraction, instant stimulation at almost no cost. And your brain isn't asking what's best for you, only what's cheapest right now. Once effort is labeled expensive while distraction feels cheap, the outcome stops feeling like a choice. And as long as this auction runs unnoticed, every delay feels personal. But once you see the system behind it, the story you tell about yourself begins to change. The decision you struggle with isn't random, and once you understand where it comes from, it stops controlling you in the same way. Chapter 1. When effort becomes a bad investment. If this feels familiar, you're not alone, because the same quiet pattern is already shaping someone else's life. This is where the problem becomes personal. Evan is 32, capable, intelligent, and painfully self-aware. He knows exactly what he should be doing, and that awareness is what makes the struggle feel heavier, not lighter. Every evening, he sits down with genuine intention, not because someone pressures him, but because he actually wants the future he keeps imagining. And yet, minutes later, he's somewhere else entirely. Not relaxed, not fulfilled, but quietly avoiding the work in front of him. The screen isn't pleasure anymore, it's escape. And the truth Evan hasn't fully named yet is that when the brain repeatedly chooses what's easy, it begins to protect you from anything meaningful, not out of malice, but out of efficiency. Effort starts to feel threatening, focus feels like friction, and progress begins to feel costly in a way that's hard to explain. Evan doesn't feel lazy in those moments. He feels trapped inside his own head. Your brain doesn't care about your goals, it cares about efficiency. Every action you consider is evaluated in milliseconds, not morally or emotionally, but economically. How much energy does this cost, and what do I get in return? High effort with uncertain payoff gets rejected. Low effort with guaranteed stimulation gets approved. Once effort is labeled inefficient, Willpower never even gets a vote. What happens when your own brain decides your goals aren't worth the cost? Chapter 2. Nothing is broken. Here's the part most people misunderstand. Nothing is broken. The brain is plastic, constantly rewiring itself based on repetition. Distraction strengthens distraction pathways. Discipline strengthens discipline pathways. And there is no neutral behavior in between. Evan's brain isn't failing him. It's obeying what it was trained to expect. One weekend, Evan leaves his phone at home without a plan or a strategy. The first hours feel uncomfortable, restless, irritable, strangely empty, and he assumes something is wrong. But nothing is wrong. This discomfort is recalibration, the nervous system adjusting to a lower level of stimulation. Most people quit here, not because the process is harmful, but because it's working. What if the discomfort you're trying to escape is actually proof that change has begun? Chapter 3. Restoring contrast. You don't remove dopamine, you restore contrast. When artificial stimulation fades, the brain slowly regains sensitivity. At first, everything feels flat, almost dull. But over time, effort begins to register again, and small things start to feel real instead of empty. A walk feels grounding. Finishing a task feels satisfying. Not euphoric, not overwhelming, just real. Removing stimulation without replacement guarantees relapse, so Evan replaces fast rewards with slower ones. Reading physical pages, cooking meals, training without music, writing by hand. At first, resistance is loud, then anticipation returns, and the brain relearns an old equation it hasn't trusted in years. Effort reliably leads to reward. If effort can feel rewarding again, what have you been missing all along? Chapter 4. From pleasure to satisfaction. Pleasure is immediate and fleeting, while satisfaction is delayed and lasting. Modern life overwhelms us with pleasure and quietly starves us of satisfaction, which is why days can feel full yet strangely empty. Have you noticed how days can feel busy and complete, yet still leave you strangely unsatisfied at the end? Evan begins to notice the shift almost without forcing it. His sleep improves, his focus deepens, and work no longer feels like punishment, not because it suddenly became easy, but because it starts to feel meaningful again. Each time Evan delays gratification, the prefrontal cortex activates, the part of the brain responsible for planning, judgment, and self-control, while distraction strengthens impulse systems instead. Over time, this changes not just his behavior, but how effort feels from the inside. This isn't about morality or willpower as a personality trait. It's about structure. Discipline isn't character, it's circuitry. When effort starts to feel meaningful, you don't just change what you do, you change who you're becoming. Chapter 5. Designing Defaults. Evan stops relying on self-control and redesigns his environment instead. The phone leaves the bedroom, notifications disappear, friction is added to distraction, and ease is added to effort until discipline becomes the default rather than a daily battle. Focus spreads socially, just like distraction does, so Evan becomes intentional about who and what surrounds him. Nervous systems synchronize, habits echo, and your brain quietly adapts to the room you live in. Change the environment and behavior follows, not through force, but through design. If your surroundings shape your behavior, how much of your life is actually yours by default? Chapter 6. The Moment of Choice. Evan eventually realizes something unsettling. Much of his life wasn't consciously chosen. It was nudged by convenience, algorithms, and invisible reward systems. This wasn't freedom, it was management. From a hijacked brain's perspective, discipline feels cruel. From a recalibrated brain's perspective, distraction feels empty. And suddenly the real question becomes clear. Which is actually harder? Endless stimulation without fulfillment, or effort that slowly builds meaning? Identify one source of empty dopamine and remove it for 7 days. Not forever. 7. Expect discomfort, because that discomfort is proof you touched the right system. You weren't designed to be endlessly entertained. You were designed to build, to struggle, and to find satisfaction in the act itself. Your brain already knows how. The only question left is whether you'll give it the silence it needs to remember.